Hi, my name is Kate Condon, and this is the fourth installment of my work experience vlogging. I'm continuing to enjoy Tosca, and this is the first rehearsal that we were actually in the Queenie Theatre, so it was really exciting. I'd been there a few times, I've seen some shows there, and I did a backstage tour last year for opera with a class, but it was really exciting to see it again, and it was just really nice to see the final product. So today I'm going to talk about the general staging and how some had to be changed because of the sets. I had two interviews with Kinza and Les, and that was really cool. And yeah, it was really cool. There was some other fun stuff with the double casting, which I wasn't really expecting. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. So first off, I'm going to kind of talk about the theater tour and the staging. The theater tour was really cool. We got to see the orchestra pit, we got to see backstage with the different dressing rooms, the green room, learn interesting facts about the theater, and it was just really nice to kind of feel like you were really a part of this experience and got to know the theater. And personally, I always love theater tours. I love to see where the costumes are held. It's so exciting. It really creates the magic for me, so I was really appreciative of that. So then we sat down and we started to actually see the rehearsal. So last week, the entire show had been staged, so they kind of knew what they were doing. Unfortunately, what they didn't really have at the rehearsal hall was this set is like a square and then some steps. So everything they did around, they kind of needed to account. So there's a few scenes where people are falling up something or falling down, so it was very kind of awkward in some places, but obviously it was the first time in the theater and it was kind of cool to see it at a kind of rough stage. Another thing that was really interesting was the staircase that is used in the first act was kind of rickety and people kept getting like splinters and falling, so it was interesting to see the beginning. Obviously no one got hurt, obviously, because that's their job and they need to make sure everyone's safe, but it was just kind of interesting to see like, hey, at my theater company things like that happen too, so it's the first dress rehearsal with the new set, which is always entertaining. Something that I was not expecting that was kind of cool though was the double Toscas and the double love interest of Cadiosi? Not good at that name. So at first, the first Tosca walked out and we're like, oh, she's in her costume, she looks really pretty. And then the second walked out and we're like, am I seeing double? This is ridiculous. Basically what that meant is everything went a lot slower because they had to try out each new blocking with the set of Tosca and her love interest. So it went kind of slow, but it was interesting to see how each couple kind of interprets the show differently and has a different bond and has a different singing style. So that was really cool because I know a lot of most audience members might not get that opportunity to see that, so I thought that was really cool. The set in general for Tosca is absolutely fabulous. I think that they are renting this from an opera company that I don't quite remember, but it isn't theirs, but they have repurposed it so well. It just fits on stage. Something I was really taken by is the stage is raked or on a rake, which means this is the ground, and it's been kind of put at an angle to make sure the short people at the back are still seen by the audience. Because of this, all the other set pieces and anything that comes down kind of has to compensate for it. So when it's falling down, it looks crazy crooked and you're like, that's never going to work. And then when it hits the ground, it makes everything look very level. So it's very disorienting, and I'm sure as a performer on the stage, it would be ridiculous. And especially, we were talking to Tosca, and she has on the character heels that are pretty sizable heels, and she has a long flowing dress, so that would be quite an ordeal. Regardless, it is an amazing set. They've done an amazing job putting it into the Queenie. I was impressed that they take apart the staircase after each scene, but in intermission, because they can't use it in the other two acts. But it's amazing how something that looks so permanent and sturdy is gone in the next two acts. So it's theater magic, I guess, and people that are very good at what they do and have taken it to such a level of professionalism and speed that they can just get a staircase down in 5 minutes and put up the new set, which I thought was really cool. There's some paintings and other religious artifacts on stage, which I think are really cool, and the costumes are absolutely gorgeous. I think this time period is really cool, and I just think the costumes are gorgeous, and if I had the opportunity, I would die to be in those costumes. Also, the kids' costumes were so cute. They look adorable, and I know it's going to look really cool that first dress rehearsal. Another quick thing to add is this was the first night we were in the theater, which meant we got a little taste of the surtitles that were at the top. Um, Personally, I think I understand this opera, like, the general gist of it. I understand, like, this is the scene where this happens, and oh, this is their overlying emotion. But we got to finally, like, dissect the certain lines, and there were some lines that were just hilarious, or I didn't quite get until I saw the English translation and understood exactly what was going on. So I was really excited about that, and I really look forward to, hopefully tomorrow, when we'll be able to get even more surtitles, because it was only every second line because they were just setting it up. But I think that will add another depth to the opera that I'm really excited about, because personally I identify things better when they're in my native language, so I think that's going to be really cool. So the other two really special things that we got to do today were talk to Les and Kinza, and they are both involved in more of the musical side of things, and talking to them, it was just cool. Like I said, talking to Fanny and Colette, they are absolutely passionate 100%, and the more I learn about this business, the more I realize that you have to be passionate, because the hours are long, the work is tough, and you are put in situations that are difficult, but they love it, and I really feel connected to them because I really feel like I have that love. And the more they talk about it, yeah, they talk about the hard stuff, they talk about how they have to move a lot, and they talk about how they have to act on their feet, and they have to really be able to, like, put up a good shield against people that are wanting to tear you down. But then they talk about the passion and the collaboration and the final product, sorry, and that's just me in a nutshell. So talking to all these artists is really inspiring, and again, thank you for this opportunity, Kinza and Les. So I'll start with Les. He is more on the conductor side of things, so I was really curious to know how he approaches certain things, if he approaches things differently. And he told me something that was really interesting. Since Tosca is by Puccini, he said that once you've done an opera by a certain composer, it's very easy to pick up the rest of them because they write in such a similar style, which I thought was really cool, because it's kind of like you can almost tell who wrote the opera by their style if you know one, which I think is really cool, because then that's them putting their stamp on something and saying, hey, yes, I'm proud of this. In the beginning, he said he's also kind of stressed to open it and start it, but he finds it difficult to kind of imagine how it will all sound, which I totally agree. If I was looking at a page and I saw 13 different lines of music that all had to create this beautiful wall of sound, I would not know where to start, and I would be totally flabbergasted, but I thought that was really impressive. Something he also said that I really connected with was to understand the score, he makes sure he knows the history of what was going on, what's the composer's background, to really understand. Like in Tosca, there's kind of current events in Italy with the political prisoner at the beginning, which I think is really cool, because now we learn about it, and that happened then. So I think the more information we get about an opera, the better it is, and I thought that his advice was really good, so that was awesome. We talked to Kinza at our second break, and she is really awesome. She was one that I was telling the world about, how she was third in line and conducting and singing, so she talked a little bit more about that, and how she really struggled with that in the beginning, and at the beginning playing and singing and doing any of this job as a repetiteur, she really struggled, and she felt like she was kind of regressing back to kindergarten, but the level that she has at now is absolutely incredible. One question I did have for her was the amount of travel, because that is something I'm a bit apprehensive about. But she said that yes, it involves a lot of travel, with good reason too, because even if you, say, get a great job in Vancouver and work there for 10 years, if someone looks at your resume and they want to hire you, they're going to wonder why you stayed in Vancouver for 10 years when you could go out and work with different people and different opportunities. So I think that it's the type of thing where new experiences are good, and it will be kind of difficult to juggle with a family, but I think that's definitely something that I'm willing to put up with to reach my dream, which is exciting to know that I think I can handle that challenge. She talked a lot about how she didn't like to be on her own as much. A lot of the musicians that we've talked to that are involved in this process now said that they love their instrument, they love the music, they could never have a job without music, but they didn't necessarily like the hours and hours alone just with their instrument. I know some do, and that's great, but the people that I've been talking to really need that human connection and collaboration, which I relate with personally. So I thought it was really cool for her to know herself well enough to say, hey, music is important to me, but I don't want to be an accompanist my whole life and just work in a room by myself. And I relate with that quite a bit. She says that she really likes the story element of singing, and that sometimes you don't really get that in other pieces, of just straight music with instruments, and I can also relate with that, being in choir and seeing this opera now. The characters are what brings music alive for me personally, so I thought that it was really cool to talk with her. Yeah, so I really appreciate both those interviews. They were very cool and very in-depth, and I appreciate them taking time out of their busy schedule in Tech Week to talk to us, and I think the other girls appreciated it too. So this is going to be a slightly shorter one tonight. It's a Monday night and I'm going to be at the opera all week, so I better get my sleep so I'm not falling asleep tomorrow. But I am super excited for this week. I love the Queen E Theatre with the star twinkle lights at the top. Even though they say it's a theatre that's kind of multi-purpose, I absolutely love it, and I think it's awesome to just hang out there. After stressful days, I find the theatre really relaxes me and calms me down, and it's such a passion of mine, so spending the entire week there is just really exciting for me. Tomorrow the orchestra comes in, and I think it's going to be more of a fluid dress rehearsal, which I'm really excited about. And then we go Wednesday, and then Thursday is dress rehearsal, and this experience is unfortunately coming to an end. So I hope that these vlogs have been at least a little bit interesting, and I would like to thank Vancouver Opera again for this experience. I know I'll never stop saying thank you, but it was really cool to meet all these people, and even the girls that I'm doing the program with, I've gotten to know so well, and I really think that I've got some strong friendships building with them, and I think that's one of the really cool things about theater, that even when you get to know someone for 4 sessions, you feel extremely close to them, and I just think that's a real gift. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of this experience, and I look forward to the coming week. Thanks.